Hello and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, March 21st, 2016. Mr. Avella, would you do the honors, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Please be advised that Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker has ordered that all the United States flags and the Commonwealth flag be lowered at half-staff at the state buildings effective immediately until sunset on the day of interment in honor of Massachusetts State Trooper Thomas L. Clardy of Hudson. Once a formal arrangement has been made, moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
And his wake is today and funeral tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, for tonight's meeting, FY 2017 budget. As you remember last week, we had scheduled a meeting with the school department, which we had on Friday morning, to discuss FY 2017 meeting budget. Town staffing levels for the police was pushed out for a decision this week. Chief has some other stats in here. On 7:30, we have our May 2nd, 2016 annual and special town meeting, determine order of articles which to appear, direct posting, article recommendations and assignments, establish alumni field renovation design committee, town administrator, assistant town administrator, adopt financial management policy amendments, fire chief controlled house burn, 24 Paula Beth Street. 8:30, other business, minutes approval, and on 8:35, we're scheduled to go into executive session, value of land, Cooper Farm, and litigation strategy, Campbell versus Casey, Town of Littleton. Mr. Bergman, mail.
Mr. Chairman, just a few items. One, we have a request from the Historical Commission for Selectmen to speak at this year's Littleton Patriots Day celebration, which will be held on Tuesday, April 19th. At 7 p.m. at Liberty Square.
So I would do it, but I will be in Pittsburgh from Sunday till Wednesday, unfortunately, so I will not be able to attend if one of the other selectmen would be available.
I know I'm going. I'll just be there.
Okay.
Great.
Second.
I'll be there, and I would speak, but they normally had a policy that people who work for Canada need to see.
Didn't name it to speak.
Put the lame duck to it.
Right after he nominates a Supreme Court justice, right?
Are you, okay with that?
Oh, yes, sir.
I appreciate that. I have a work obligation in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Great.
Very good. And just a few other items that we've received since the packet. One, we have a letter from the Agricultural Commission requesting that the Agricultural Working Group on town properties resume its meetings to talk about Nagog Hill Orchard, Church Meadow, and other leases.
So I'm a member on that committee, and, we're gonna get going. So, they asked also to extend the lease for the orchard, but we already did that, and
We have their recommendation, they have recommended that we extend the lease.
We did that already, though, in the
But we
previous
have no-
meeting. We did that for Church Meadows, and, I think it was June of 2017, we extended it.
We have received, I'll double check.
Check on it,
Yeah,
but
we
I
may
do
have,
remember
I don't think we have an
specifically that.
authorizing vote, and we haven't signed a lease agreement, but we will get that done.
Yeah.
It was the intent to extend the Nagog Hill Orchard lease from July 1st through January of 2017.
There you go.
So
It was
we'll get
January, or June, I couldn't remember, and we did
that done.
Church Meadows the same,
Yeah, and we've done that, yeah.
so.
Or we will do that.
Now, they're expecting they want another 6 months. Hopefully, we can get this wrapped up by January of 2017. That's our expectations, or at least my expectations, being part of that group.
Let's see, we have,
I know Bonnie has the bid that Westford did for their orchard, so it's a matter of massaging that to be able to look like Nagog, and we should be able to go. Sorry, go ahead, Mr.
Very
Burgess.
good. Next item is we received a letter today from the Neshoba Valley Technical High School with a reminder that there's an appointment to be made to the district committee. There's a term expiring on March 31st. I think the practice has been to advertise for even where we have an incumbent who is seeking reappointment, that we still advertise and then schedule a joint meeting that the moderator convenes with this board and with the school committee. So we'll follow
Is
that
that
up.
Charlie's seat that's up? It's not
No,
the-
it's
the alternate
Carl's.
seat?
It's the alternate.
Okay,
It's Carl's,
thank you.
yeah.
All right.
So we'll work with the superintendent's office and the moderator on doing that. Then we have we received an email this afternoon from Mass DOT District 3, looking to schedule a meeting locally in early April, where Air and Littleton can reconvene and bring in the affected abutters to review preliminary plans that Mass DOT will have completed for the temporary improvements to the intersection.
Outstanding.
So we really appreciated their follow-up, and we'll get back to them with dates for early April that are.
Selectman Hellman had called me probably a month ago to actually start to meet with all the landowners, and so this is.
Yeah, and this is what they'd like to,
Yeah,
this is Mass
perfect.
DOT would like us to line that up for them, so that was great to hear that. And that is it.
All right, so right now I'm going to just go open it up to public input and members update. Does anybody in the public have any input? Seeing none. Mr. DeCoste.
I'm good right now, thank you.
Mr. Ravello. Mr. Knox.
Yeah, I want to congratulate my granddaughter, Kaylin Yonley, who won the state hockey championship for Tier 2, 12 and under, playing goal, only gave up 2 goals in 5 games, and they won the state championship.
Outstanding.
Great.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I just have comment about this board. You know, sometimes it's a thankless position. Well, most of the time, it's a thankless position. I got to tell you, the folks that are sitting up here right now, and the commitment that we all have to this town, in the past 6 weeks, we've met 5, week after week after week, out of the past 6. That's just regular selectmen's meetings. That doesn't include all the other ancillary meetings that we have for Cooper property, for master plan, for personnel board, for on and on and on and on. It's a huge commitment, and not too many times do we hear thank you. So as chair, I'd like to thank everybody and the members of this board, because it's been a hellacious 2 months here. And, you know, it's election season, and, you know, you always hear the negative. But I got to tell you something, this board has been working very, very, very hard for this town. And, you know, if Melissa was here, I'd say ladies and gentlemen, but gentlemen, I appreciate it as a lifelong resident for all your service, I really do. It's outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. 6:35, we have a fiscal year 2017 budget planning. The first meeting is, we have FinCom. Are we in session with a quorum?
Yep.
School committee? You're good? Outstanding. As you remember, last week, there was during the budget deliberations, there were some deliberations that needed to go on with the school. We sat down with the school, I sat down, Mr. Bergman, the school committee, Mr. Fontanella, Mr. Clenchey, Bonnie. We all sat down and really took a hard look at the budgeting process, took a hard look at the needs of the school, and we came up with a solution, and I'll let you guys jump in right after I'm done here. Came up with a solution where there's still a $100,000 variance between the town and the school committee. But Bonnie does a revenue projection for the year in March, the end of March. So we told the school, the town told the school that we'll wait for those projections to come through, reconvene, and see what we can do with making up that delta. Mr. Chairman?
I thought it was a great meeting, some good creative ideas that were brought out, some that we adopted and some we didn't necessarily feel we could at the time. The only issue that we have right now, really, other than closing the $100,000 gap, the other issue is timing. Our public budget hearing is scheduled for this Thursday, the 24th. That's already been moved from the original date. So we're gonna have to go ahead and have that meeting. It's required. We're gonna have it. And, you know, we'll have to have a public vote on what our budget number is. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Obviously, as we get more information, and it's happened in the past where we can revote, if we get more information, that, you know, moves the number up or down, you know, depending on how it goes with Bonnie's review and things like that. But we'll be ready to go ahead on Thursday, and I invite anybody from the FinCom, Board of Selectmen, the public. That is a 7 p.m. start at the police station.
Okay,
So we'll be there doing that.
outstanding. Madam Chair, from the Finance Committee.
We had the meeting, here we are, so.
Okay. So I guess, you know, board members, any questions for, the process, the meeting?
So the delta's 100,000, Jim?
Yes.
And the delta was what?
435? 432.
So the 332 was made up.
Yeah, we'll go over that. So what we did was we agreed to use, we had originally budgeted to use $250,000 out of choice, school choice. That number will be more like somewhere around $450,000, plus or minus, depending on what we look at our budget and what happens as we go through the process. But I would say at least 4, hopefully, you know, not a lot more than that. The other significant thing that we did was we had $100,000 for materials and resources that we had as an increase in the appropriation of the operating budget. That's been moved over to the capital budget. However, in order to make that more palatable, we also took $50,000 out of the Tigers Den revolving account to be allocated towards a paving project at Russell Street, which is where Tigers Den is located. So the net impact on the overall capital budget is $50,000 from what it was prior to Friday morning. But it's a gross of $100,000 off of our request by pulling that out and moving that over to the capital side. So those were the two big ticket items that caused that delta to move down to 100,000.
And so the last piece of that, as we said, is when Bonnie does her review of recurring revenue projections after the third quarter is complete, after March 31st, we'll get an updated number of what recurring revenues might be available for fiscal 2017. And from that, we may be able to allocate, some or all of the remaining $100,000 that separates our two sets of numbers.
I'm going to be meeting with I'm going to be meeting with the assessors, the collector, and the building inspector to kind of go through those local receipts and the projections over this week.
Okay. Mr. Ravello?
Seeing the crux of the discussion last time came down to how much we would ask the school department to take money out of the revolving funds, and then how much appropriation in the delta was, that $432,000 from what was available and town appropriation available. It was at least discussed at that meeting that, as an adjunct to the meeting you guys had Friday, is that as we go through the years now, as we start making a concerted effort to close that gap, and Betsy, maybe you can't do it all in 1 year, and we all agreed it couldn't be, but certainly looking down, whether it's a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and this board can't commit the next board, we all understand that, but certainly the board that's sitting here at any particular time can make a commitment, and understanding when a successive board comes on, that it looks back that board was committed to trying to do this, and now in good conscience, how do you attempt to work with that? One of you very good reasons is not to, as fiscal realities change, we all understand that, but then also, if the ball doesn't begin rolling down this particular hill, it's never going to get to the bottom anyway. Instead of become a Sisyphean task where we've been pushing that rock up the hill and only for it to fall back down again too many times over the years. So that's all I'd ask, that we certainly make a commitment this board and understand this board lasts, another 2 months, not even now. Another board will be sworn in. But that we look at how do we work towards narrowing that delta between appropriation and what we're asking the schools to take out of the revolving funds. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, any members have any comment?
It's a great point that Mr. Vella brings up, and just to keep everybody on the same page, we are projecting to end 2016 with about a $518,000 balance in school choice. We will then take in a projected $400,000 in receipts for next year, but we're looking to spend somewhere around $450,000. So that 518 would go down. And it wouldn't be 518, it'll be probably under $500,000. And when Mr. Vella and I were first elected to the school committee 10 years ago, that balance was even lower, and there was significant pressure brought upon the school committee at the time to get those reserves up so that we had flexibility as a town to deal with unexpected encumbrances in a particular fiscal year. And I would just echo his sentiment in the sense that if we don't get our hands around this and fix this, and we keep whittling that down, we will have gone 180 degrees from what we all agreed was the proper point of view relative to maintaining reserves in school choice and circuit breaker. So, what we decide to do in that regard will have significant impacts on how the schools, maintain those balances and how they're able to use them, and subsequently impact spending strategies and saving strategies for the rest of the town budget.
Okay. FinCom members, any comments? Fred?
The process we're going through now is not all that different than the process we go through every year. The school's numbers, basically come public relatively late in the process. So we'll, review after you guys vote on what you're going to do with the other departments, and we'll review the entire Article 4, and if there are hard choices to make, we'll make our proposals. But I do think that we're all working on estimates right now. Bonnie's estimating receipts. Schools are estimating revenues from choice and other places. I think on an annual basis, we need to review where we actually start the year and what we actually spend and where we actually end the year. If they end the year at $470,000 or $480,000, that's about a year's worth of spending. The equivalent of about a year's worth of spending. We should probably get together as a group and decide what are the levels of reserves that we are comfortable with. I think a year's worth of spending doesn't sound too bad to me. So, yes, it's been higher in the past, and that's great. But I think coming up with some guidelines, or proposed guidelines from the schools, what would the schools be comfortable with for their reserve levels, and then let's discuss it and come to an agreement. And if we start falling below those levels, then I absolutely agree with Mike that we should be addressing that as a total town in its totality. But without to agreeing on where the level should be, it's a little difficult to say that we feel good about this or we don't feel good about that. So that would just be my recommendation going forward.
Okay. That's fine. The only comment I would make is that, I think that would be a worthwhile exercise. I just want to keep in mind, it would be a revisit of something that's transpired in the past. It wouldn't be the first time that we've had that discussion.
Oh, absolutely.
When we first got involved, and the only difference was when I remember doing it when I first got on the school committee, instead of thinking about as a year's worth of spending, which is certainly a perfectly fine tool or methodology to use, it was more like dollars. And I remember that it was more like $600,000 was what we were all comfortable with. And if we want to change the methodology and change it, I think we should have that discussion. And maybe maybe we're overdue for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think we've codified that recently. I know we haven't,
Right.
but it was codified in the past.
Absolutely. And if it's, if
Maybe
the
revisit that.
500 isn't the number, then
Yeah.
what is the number that they're comfortable with?
Yeah.
Whatever, but I think, just to make it, to clarify it for everybody going forward, that's worthwhile.
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments?
So Thursday is your vote.
Yep.
Again, I'll try and be there. I don't know what my schedule is, but see how the vote goes, and we'll wait for those projections and maybe sit down and have another budget meeting like we did last Friday to, we really want to go, we are going to go to town meeting for the balanced budget, so. And I know that's your finance, school, and also what happens.
We might just want to figure out what the date is that we'll meet, that the three boards can meet jointly. My strong suggestion is that we do it prior to April 12th, because that's the day that our budget book is going to the printer. And we have a selectmen's meeting scheduled for April 11th. I think that's cutting it a little close. And at the risk of having the board have just yet another special meeting, my suggestion would be 2 weeks from tonight, April 4th, to have a joint meeting, see if we can finalize the budget then. We still have a lot of articles to adopt recommendations on. We'll do some of that tonight. We can plan to do some of it on April 11th, but you may find out you need more time than just those.
Is that enough time for you, Bonnie, to get all your projections and
Yeah.
revenue information in from staff? Okay.
So that would mean we get next Monday night off, but that's it.
Mike,
Should be fine for us.
Betsy?
I think it's okay for me. We have a meeting on Tuesday night too, but, yeah.
It's okay.
Maybe in Missouri.
The 4th, he's talking about the 4th, and our
We have a
meeting's
quorum.
the 5th.
Well, I don't know with Melissa,
Yeah, we'll find
Melissa's not here.
May I ask, Mike, when's your next meeting after Thursday?
Probably be 2 weeks. 2 weeks after that, so 24th, 31st, 7th. So it'd be that same week, but it would be.
That would work.
Yeah, I'm in still
Was it
Missouri that
14th?
day.
The 14th.
Yeah.
It might be the 14th. But we can, if you're asking if we need to meet subsequent to that to be able to figure out what to do depending on what transpired, we'll work that out, honestly.
I mean, if the working group, if the group that met last Friday reconvened again and we agreed on a number, I think that whether that vote takes place on the 4th or the 11th is,
But we can give you
It's
a meeting
okay.
just to deal with that if we have to. That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's hammered out, then it's just a vote on the 11th.
yeah.
And I'm sure that, there'll be a robust discussion on Thursday about, what strategies and ideas are acceptable to us as a group. So we should have, a good ability to make good decisions at that next meeting and not have to worry about going back and, dealing with it in, in a full meeting. So we'll be okay.
All right, so we will finalize this on the 11th, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
If there are issues prior to the 11th or the 4th or somewhere around there, maybe we can make a determination at that point.
I expect really to be,
Yeah.
coming from Bonnie's direction more than ours at this point.
Sure, sure.
So is that there is a meeting on the 4th or there's none?
At this
No, it
point,
doesn't
no.
sound like we want to have
At this
a quorum,
point, no.
so.
What we're looking at is from the projections to see where we can
We'll
make
see what,
up the
exactly,
delta.
exactly. We do quarterly, this is her
Right.
third quarter.
And it's not just local receipts, but it would involve like building permits, where we are with the status of the housing project we've got online and the commercial stuff online, so. It's time to do that anyway, we do it every quarter, so.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, thanks again for working this out, meeting with us last Friday, and we look forward to our next budget meeting once we get our projections, revenue projections out. All right, Chief King, Deputy. At our last meeting, we had a discussion in regards to the request to increase the full-time employees at the police station by 2. Chief King, you gave us some stats. We asked for some more stats based on your comment of speed patrols and citations, and I see you've come back, so why don't you walk us through this, please?
Basically, we went back in and looked at just the call analysis for 2014 versus 2015. obviously, there's variations, time, things like that, but basically, it shows that the brunt of the call volume occurs between 7 o'clock at night, obviously, and 7 PM at night, and then it tails down a little bit to about 2,300. Drops off greatly from midnight until 6 AM in the morning. What was of interest to us is when we ran up the call analysis by day, and it shows how much we've really transitioned to a 7-day week of society, because the variation was only about 3 to 4% in from top to bottom for a call variation on Monday through Sunday, which surprised me.
That was much
That it
different
was,
before?
Used to be much lower, in years past, but we've really transitioned to a 7-day a week society now, I think, and Sunday only, is 11.95%, and the high being, Thursday at 15.6%, so it's really, the other sheet in was just,
So what was that,
Go ahead.
what is the
Sorry.
call analysis? What are those?
the call analysis is everything we do, every single thing that comes into the PD.
So the 15.27, the high on the Tuesday, what is that?
That just-
Out of 100% of what calls fire and police?
Just the things that the police respond to, but we respond to all the fire calls also.
Okay.
So, everything that, any call that the police are dispatched to handle is where we go. So the call analysis is really there for, it was more just to kind of show that, it's a 7-day a week, is very even over the time frame, more than anything else. Motor vehicle citations, I had talked to you about those, going down because of, some, patrol times. I will tell you that, now that we've got the 2 individuals out of the academy, and that has helped somewhat, seeing our numbers increase a little bit in the first quarter. But we did take a drop from 13 through 14 and 15, and but we were running some injury short and things like that. However, in 16, I expect it to rebound, and I would expect it to rebound even more because with the patrols, with the 4th patrols, we'll be able to do some more targeted enforcement. We're always receiving complaints about traffic. It's, and I don't mean to sound trite when I say this, there'll be a drug dealer at the end of a road, and the people aren't complaining about the drug dealer, they're complaining about the traffic driving up and down their road, about the situation, because, the kids, can get hit, and different things of that nature. So citations certainly, I would say to you this, that our current citation writing probably is about 70% warnings and probably 30%, violations, or, 65, 35, somewhere in that range. The officers, they're not out there just, writing everybody, under the sun. However, sometimes just a friendly warning of, hey, slow it down, please, is all somebody needs as a reminder. Also, too, with cars being stopped, it is a deterrent to other people when they do see, people pulled over. And one other thing I'm looking at for the additional personnel, being able to get more in the neighborhoods. When I do know I have a full shift out there, 4 on, get the pedal bikes up in the lake area on a Friday and a Saturday night with do some targeted patrol, of that nature, which some of the programs that kind of have drifted away because we just don't have time on shift, nor do we have the overtime to do it. I would utilize.
So
go ahead.
one question about that too is, as we do these new roads, you get a nice new surface on there and
Absolutely.
it becomes a speedway. You hear it all the time. Is there a schedule, or is there a rotation throughout the town, or is it just random by what the officers feel or?
No, they're assigned by their shift sergeant, the radar assignments that come down, typically out of the deputy's office. On targeted streets, the deputy will, let them know what it is. Other than that, the sergeant will determine, radar assignments, every shift for, normally it's more than one radar assignment, per shift. Especially when you're running, heavy enough. And, if they get called off, they go back after they're done. But, we obviously in Neshoba Road was, we hit that pretty, hard when it first came on the best we could, because same with Harvard, or, Neshoba Road, Harvard Road, New Estate Road's gonna be another one when it gets done, that, well, obviously you have to get up there and, give it a little extra attention,
Do you actually track where your radars are?
Oh, yeah.
So you have a database of that, so.
Yep, and
when you get
requests.
that- When you get that call of,
and requests.
I haven't seen anybody up here for 6 months, you can actually say, hey, no, well, we were here.
That
We
too,
did that
and,
with Russell Street recently. We had the issue with, before school opening, with Russell Street, and we were able to show when we were on there. Even after the complaints had come in, resident was saying they're never there, and we were able to say they're there this time, they wrote this many citations and
Nice.
everything else, so.
when the officer goes to the radar assignment, they'll actually sign off on a call, per se, if you will, of a radar assignment on whatever street they're on. And then they, call on it, and then they call off it when they're done. And they, but they also call on the multiple stops in between. So like the deputy says, somebody does ask us, we can go back and look and say, oh, you're right, we need to give it a little bit more, because that's also too how a lot of times with neighborhood complaints and things, that's how we put out the traffic counter trailer, the speed trailer.
Yep.
So we'll put that out there, and also too, then the deputy will, and a couple of the other officers are certified, they'll deploy the covert traffic counter. Because sometimes, when you're walking on the sidewalk, a car going by you at the speed limit even seems faster than you think it is. And we've proved that on several times where, no, there really isn't a lot of, there's a lot of traffic, but the speeds aren't, by any means excessive.
You can tell that by the counter thing?
Yeah.
The ones we put out, the tubes.
The tubes.
Not the machine.
The tubes are spaced a certain distance apart.
Oh, I didn't know
First hit,
that.
second hit, and then it, it reads, and then it will also tell you, trucks and things like that, but that's where you deploy them, and it's great because nobody knows, what they are, they're just tubes in the road, so they're not speeding up because they see the,
Yeah.
the sign, which, can be the other problem sometimes with those is,
That's the signs we put on the show, but we can get that data from them.
Oh, beautiful.
The
The
new,
cruiser just has to pull up and it's Bluetooth
Nice.
to the sergeant's car.
That's something that, we should offer these, have Jim Clyde offer these neighborhoods when we're redeveloping their roads. Because I don't know whether or not it works or not. I mean, you'd have to ask the folks down there, but,
well, I hit one every day coming to work, and I know it works on me.
Yeah.
And sometimes you forget, you're in a long straightaway, and you just get creeping up, and all of a sudden that, flash kind of reminding you, what are you doing? So I know, and it depends on where you set it. We've also got the ones on the Neshoba Road set so that if somebody decides they want to see how fast they can make it go, it shuts off at like 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So it doesn't give any satisfaction of being able to say, hey, I got the thing to show me, 99 miles an hour or something like that.
All this time I thought it was broken.
that's what they have.
Was you on the camera? It was a blur. I couldn't tell. No, sorry, there's no camera.
That's what they got Snapchat for.
Not a huge surprise that motor vehicle crashes or property damage are up. We just have more traffic. Also, too, with the advent of our personal injury accidents are down, which is great. But a lot of that's from the advent of the new airbags. I think more and more people are now wearing their seatbelt. All the new cars are coming through with, side airbags and airbags coming on everywhere. So the PI accidents have dropped. However, unfortunately, you get more traffic in town, you're just gonna see more crashes, and it's just how it is. Medical emergencies, officers respond to all the medical emergencies along with the fire department. It was crested over 900 this year. Suspicious activity, that was a drop. That, I partly blame that on not having as much patrol time out there right now. Because a lot of these were called in, some are called in by, 2-911, but a lot of them are just the officers out when they're out, floating and they're going around and looking. So I hope, they will go up. Alarms are up. as more building goes on and, things like that, more businesses. We work with them, they do get fined after, more than 3 times in a year. So, the fine bills will be going out shortly. And, we also work with ones to get them under control if they're chronic ones. We give the new businesses when they're brand new, like at the point, we gave them a little bit of, we always give them a little bit of leniency to get the bugs worked out before the 3, but after a certain amount of time, it's like, okay, wait a minute, because, it is, while we control our response to those now, we don't, they're not a lights and siren call by any means, they're flow of traffic with the lights on. You're still responding to something, and as you saw, we're about 485 last year. And general disturbances, they were up. General disturbance can be anything from, those are 911 calls generated for service. They could be neighbor complaints about noise. They could be, a lot of these could be youths up the lake area, things like that, both Matawanaki and Long Lake. Typically, they both inside, outside is any disturbance that the officers respond to. What I did is the next sheets you go into, I just pulled up some of the calls, and this is everything that goes on at these sites. So the first one you see is the point. You see total, there was, 290, I'll call them activity-based at the point. Now, you'll see that there was probably close to 100, building checks of the point, the whole area up there was currently open, and then anything from larcenies, arrests, disturbances, general service, could be just there's 24 lockouts up there at Market Basket alone, just going up there to unlock somebody's car for them. Animal complaints, again, burglar alarms, accidents, pretty much anything that happens in that area, because we listed that as a site we track. The next one up is the Bridge of Central Mass, which is at 19 Shattuck Street. That's what last year's calls looked there, which I will tell you, we're down about 30 from the prior year. So we're happy to see that we have been working together to try and drive those calls down there. For a while, it was becoming a constant. And sometimes it unfortunately is just, when a couple new clients come in, it can be, it can really drive the situation up.
Chief, on the bridge, how many clients do they actually have in there?
There's the 2 houses, and I think there's 8 to 9 in there.
They just had some move out, placed in other places.
Right, it kind of fluctuates. The staffing during the daytime is almost 1-to-1 in the facility, and at night it's typically, I think there's 3 people on at night in the facilities, or 4 people on at night in the facilities, I believe. So it's, so it depends on, who fluctuates in and out. A lot of times, if they find a client comes in that is very disruptive to the houses, to one or the other house, then they try and shift that person out to another house. We had one person there last year that was probably responsible for 30 of the 80-some-odd calls that were down there. She, for lack of a better term, she would then call down, later on she would start calling down and try and figure out who was working, because a couple of the officers she really liked, and would then cause a disturbance, so the officers would come down there. So, but that, again, they transferred her out of the facility. Village Green, that tracking's only for 6 months, because they've only been renting really there since July. Just shows the 51, different calls down there. Anything from, again, larcenies to, just well-being checks, or, DMVs, lockouts, things of that nature. Mill Pond Apartments, same thing. Pondside, and then lastly, I just pulled up these sites.
One side seems to be down, I remember.
It has actually did fairly well last year. I think the new management company certainly has been much more aggressive about taking care of their problem tenants, if you will. And they are definitely using the eviction process more readily down there if they have to get rid of a problem tenant. So that certainly has helped there. And then Littleton Group Home, last year was 89, which is down about 40 from the year before. And what's really come under control there, you'll see, is while we still had 26 missing persons, that was almost double to triple that, last year. So it's certainly, working with them constantly has certainly helped that out. And you gotta remember, we didn't really meet with them until, I think, 4 or 5 months into the year this year. So the missing persons have really bottomed out now. What is a missing person, what isn't a missing person, really is what has changed. I just wanted to show you some of the different things that we go to different sites in town. My main, I guess my main point really hasn't changed since last meeting. I really fully believe that having a sergeant plus 3 on the day shift and evening shift, I've seen how it's working out currently on the split shift, which is the 2 3 to 11s, 2 day shift, which is the relief shift. That shift currently does have a sergeant and 3. It has a sergeant, a 2 patrolmen, and then the canine and patrol officer on it. Definitely getting more work done. I think the officers are much more comfortable. The backup's getting to each other quicker and faster, with the different disturbance calls, and it's allowing patrols to stay out there on the road if and when there's a situation where people are tied up to having to do reports and things of that nature. The sergeants have more leeway on, okay, you go in and do your reports for 2 hours if you have to, and leave guys out, and vice versa, where if there's only 1 or 2 of them or if there's only 2 people working, it obviously gets very difficult when you've, unfortunately, like everybody else, especially with court, things like that, you have to, paperwork's gotta be submitted by the end of shift, typically, and especially with, domestic situations or arrest, things of that nature. So, not to belabor last week's discussion, it really basically is the same. I am really happy, though, I didn't give you things that all rose. Breaking and enterings are down last year, which I'm very happy about. The patrols we do get out there, I think the main road, that they see, officers pulling cars over, things like that, helps that. Some of that is breaking and enterings aren't really, necessarily the crime of choice anymore. It's the larcenies from the banks, it's the larcenies from getting a hold of somebody's checks and things like that. That's kind of the new way to a degree. Car brakes, weren't really an issue last year, about the same as the year before. We really have never had a real huge problem with that, unless you get a rash of it. We still lose, we still ask people to lock their things in their trunk, things of that nature. We still get the things every now and again where you wouldn't believe how many laptops are just, get out by smashing a window and grabbing the laptop out of the back of the car. So, overall, we live in a safe community, honestly. We do some things maybe that other towns our size don't do because of our transient community. I would say to you that. I would say, I could bring you down all the weapons that were confiscated over the last year between knives and guns and, things of that nature on motor vehicle stops and things like that show you, the things that are in our community. The officers are out there working, and I just ask you to make an investment in the department. And that's what I'm looking for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, questions, comments?
Let me go first.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for all the work you did and all the stats you had here. I thought the information you had in Cornerstone was very interesting, and what shows the increase in the number of calls that has to go out there. There's no doubt that you have a great department and you have a need, but at this time, I'd be in favor of increasing by 1.
Okay. Mr. Ravella, comments?
6+ months ago, I became involved with the chief and looking at a lot of the data. And what he's presented here, this last couple of meetings or so, I've seen in some shape or form previously. And there's a consistency in the data that he's been presenting, so consistent data is always useful. So thank you for that. And as Mr. Knox said, thanks for compiling it all and working through this. If I may, I'd like to share 2 anecdotes, please. And it involves my wife Cynthia and I arriving here 12 years or so ago now. That was just 12 years ago this month. And it was a Thursday evening. early on, I'd maybe 6, 7 months living in town. Had already gotten the Independent, and so I was reading the Independent that evening, and excited utterances spewed from me as I was yelling for her to, come here, I want to show you something. And I showed her the police log in the Independent. And police go to Long Lake and talk to 2 boys and ask them to move along. Police intercept an automobile and say, is everything okay? Things like that. I said, this is why we moved to Littleton, okay? So as the town has grown somewhat, certainly, and other things that have happened over time, those things aren't quite the same anymore. The chief has already talked about some of the things, the weapons is an example. That second anecdote, again, very early on in our time here in town, it's evening, 9 o'clock or so in the evening, policeman's knocking at the door. And I wonder what I did this time. But there was an automobile parked down on the street, and it was out of character for the neighborhood. So he just came in and says, everything okay? Yeah, it is, and thanks for checking. So those are the sorts of things that, you talk investment in the police department, it's an investment in the town, not the police department. You guys protect and serve, and it's how do we help you protect and serve is the way I view this. And it's what are we willing to tolerate, or what is it we're willing to buy? When we walk into Donlands, we're going to buy whatever produce, whatever meats, whatever canned goods. We're going to spend money to do that because that's what we choose to buy. If we're on Amazon.com, I'm going to buy something that way, we're going to choose to buy something. It gets down to what do we want to choose to purchase in the form of public safety for our town, as to what this boils down to. I want to take it one step further. In my previous profession, human factors engineering was very important because of the high speeds and certainly the opportunity for failure, being terminal. So we tried to avoid that. But you, in a way, deal with that, too, each and every day. Every time you make a traffic stop, you don't know what's going on there. Your officers have to be peak fitness, not just physically, but mentally also. And fatigue impairs that fitness. And when you're responding, you can say, well, adrenaline kicks in and I do all this stuff. When a person's fatigued, their motor skills are deteriorated, and their cognitive skills are also deteriorated. So that's how I'm viewing this, is through lenses such as that, is to what do we want for our town? If we're okay that there's a couple more breaking and enterings, a couple more shopliftings, and we're willing to tolerate that, that's one thing. But if we even wanted to the numbers that exist today to be even lower, to make an even more safe community, I think we have an opportunity this evening at least to head in that direction. So you can probably tell, and I mentioned this last week too, is where I was leaning already, but I hope I was able to offer some justification as to why I'm leaning towards even recommending the 2 policemen.
Mr. DeCoste?
Can't be as eloquent as Mr. Avella. But I appreciate your input. And Chief, Deputy, thank you for all the work that you put into this presentation the past 2 weeks and for giving us the justification. Last week I asked where would these, if we were to hire 1 or 2 officers, where would they go? And I think it lends to what Mr. Avella has said, that if there are more feet in the street, and not only is the community safer, but the officers are also safer. I'm kind of in a hybrid mode right now, to be honest, where looking at the numbers, strictly as numbers, and to your point, PJ, about what do we want to purchase, what do we want to buy. We have a number if we were to hire 2, we have a number if we were to hire 1. The delta between bringing 2 officers on versus bringing 1 officer on is 20. Can you give me the correct number?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a typo in the motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I didn't correct the motion page.
Right.
My memo is correct. So the impact of 2 officers is $49,000 in salary and $33,337 in fringe.
So it's 82,370, 337?
33,337, yes.
So
So it's about a $30,000.
82,337, right?
And for the single officer?
That's for 2.
That's correct. And that is
So that one's
$35,205
great.
in salary and $18,189.
So it's about 54 for 1? So we're somewhere around 28
Yeah.
delta?
Is the margin.
So,
I think we're all in agreement that we need to provide one officer. I think that's been, I won't say it's been decided because we haven't taken a motion on it, but I'm getting the sense that we are in agreement that we need to at least hire one full-time police officer. One of the things that I am interested in is we have invested in an individual from town and sponsored them to go through the academy. And that individual has made an investment in themselves to go to the academy, but we've also sponsored them and allowed them to use some of our resources, some of your resources. And I would like to see a return on our investment, essentially, and somehow tie that individual into whatever decision we make this evening. And I mentioned that I'm kind of in a hybrid position. And what I mean by that is if we were to hire one individual effective immediately,
July 1st.
July 1st, right? And that other individual that I mentioned that we're sponsoring is in the academy currently, am I correct? No, April, okay, goes in April, so
Till
September? That person would come on in September and then potentially could come on the department, is it 8 weeks after graduation, or what is the break-in? Is there a training period, or?
In-house training?
Well, if they're in-house training, they're being paid, they're
Right,
hired.
they would start, if the individual was hired after the academy, then they would obviously be hired, then they'll go into the FTO program, the Field Training Officer Program. And that can take anywhere from, 10 weeks to 8 to 12 weeks, depending on, progression.
Okay, so by hybrid, I guess what I'm saying is we could potentially make an investment in one officer effective July 1st. And then that second officer out of the academy, we could make an investment in that individual in the fall. So I don't know if we could try to structure something as a board to do something along those lines. But
So
I
you're
do
in
think-
favor for two, just delaying one is what I'm hearing.
I think that's what I mean by the hybrid, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where I would be leaning, but I am
Okay.
open to discussion, and I'd like to
All right.
hear what you have to say.
All right, so I guess, number one is, we're still dealing with a school situation. We're talking about hiring at least one patrolman that I would definitely support, but we still have an issue with the town budget that has to be recognized and has to be dealt with. And talking with Bonnie, the one has been scheduled in, the quote-unquote proposal for FY 2017. So the second is, gonna be an issue as far as how much money we have. There's only so much money in the till to support the town. The process has always been, come before us in November, make your pitch, and again, go through the budget process. So I think if the chief wants another officer, we just stick with that. But with the school situation and the budget not being resolved, I'm very hesitant to, as a matter of fact, I won't support two, but I can definitely support the one. And I like your comment, Chuck, about the investment the town has made, the department has made with the individual that is in the academy. They were so committed, they paid for the academy themselves, which I thought was pretty good. Saved the town a little bit of money there. So, I mean, you go through your hiring process, it is what it is. Yeah, you make that determination, but that's a point well taken, Chuck. That being said, again, I'd support the one. We have to work through the details with the FY 17 budget. It hasn't been resolved yet, and possibly 18, maybe 19, fiscal year 18, 19, we could definitely take a look at it, but, we've heard tonight, PJ, you bringing up the issues with the schools and having some type of plan in place. We definitely need to deal with that, and we need to see the impact of our receipts moving forward also, so that's where I'm standing. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, this delta is small in the overall budget of the town. And certainly, there's a gap, and as a percentage of the gap, it becomes big, so I get that piece. Chuck's hybrid solution there takes what would be an incremental $28,000 increase to a $21,000 increase. And perhaps as we're looking at the same methodology with the school department right now over this next week or two, perhaps we could look at that second officer similarly for the police department over this next week or two and see really how our receipts do sweep out. And understand this carries forward into the future. And that 28,000 delta will grow year after year, just through inflation and increased salaries. So we know that, then so do receipts. So there's that balance. Fortunately, because of the amount of overtime, and I think I made my point hopefully clearly enough, is overtime is tough. Certainly a lot of people enjoy it because of the extra pay, but that safety factor for everybody involved, the people on the streets, the policemen doing the traffic stops, and those high-speed responses too, where split-second decisions are necessary. So let's keep that in mind, please.
Sure.
If I may, could I possibly make or ask on a suggestion?
Sure.
On this? I would guess I would ask that, obviously, it seems like one is a definite, and could we revisit this in early September? See where the books stand at that point on the second officer?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
If we do that in early September and revisit
Be
the
opposed to it.
situation at that point, would give you more time to look at what receipts are gonna look like and things of that nature. We would go up to special in November if you were to approve the second.
We meet in November on FY18 anyway, so September is not a bad thing. I have no problem with that.
Concur.
How do you want to word that motion then?
I'm just working on it right now. How's this sound? We go add one full-time officer with a revisit of the second officer in September timeframe. And if we can say September 30th, how's that? By September 30th.
It's fine by me. What's we don't know what our schedule is in September at
We
this
don't.
point.
No,
By September
By
30th.
by September, okay, yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, depend on, I haven't seen the Patriots schedule yet.
Yes. Good point, Mr. Bergman, good point. That's why we keep you around.
Don't know when we're playing Monday nights.
1 a.m. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote to include in the town's operating budget request for fiscal year 2017 the following increased staffing levels for the police department. It's option 2. Add one full-time police patrol officer, $35,205 salary, with $18,189 fringe.
I'm gonna put you on hold just for a second, just for clarification. You mentioned the 7 to 3 and the 3 to 11. This officer, this patrolman, 3 to 11?
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
With the Board of Selectmen revisiting the second police officer by September 30th of 2016.
Then move the second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Chief.
All right, town meeting, determine order of which articles appear.
Did you skip one?
I did?
No, my bad.
No, no,
My bad.
what? No. Keith?
Yeah, we had, as of the close of the warrant at noon on Friday, we had a total of 32 articles submitted. We had 25 for the annual and 7 for the special. That said, and I did send an email out this afternoon with a suggestion that one of the articles we received was a voter petition proposing a 3-year moratorium on town-owned property with a restriction against certain, not all, but certain synthetic turf, particularly for carcinogens, as listed in the article. The petitioner had contacted us, they contacted Selectmen DeCoste, and we were asked to review the petition before it was completed. Town council did that. One of the suggestions that we made was that since the alumni field renovation article, which gives rise to the petition, is in the special town meeting warrant, it would be preferred if the petitioned article could go in the special town meeting as well. That way, we could have one discussion, about both articles or discussion about each article, one after the other. So, in any event, the petitioner indicated that they didn't think they could get on short notice. This Thursday is when we were in conversation, didn't think they could get the 100 signatures required for a special town meeting article. Only 10 signatures are required for an annual. In fact, they got 71 signatures, which is pretty good, but it was not enough for the annual. However, the petitioner expressed her willingness, if the board found a procedural way, to place her article in the special town meeting rather than the annual. Then the petitioner would be fine with that. The procedural hurdle that we would simply need to overcome, if those articles are in separate town meetings, there are certainly procedural ways to overcome it, but it might be a cumbersome process of moving certain articles out of order in each town meeting.
Well, there's two
whatever.
two different articles here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any benefit to move it up. What I'd like to see is move it closer to the top, so that, the renovation article, it's gonna be a yes or no. If it's a no, well, it's a no.
Yeah.
We don't enact the committee we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
And the article is done, and we don't go with any renovations for Alumni Field. That doesn't preclude that, the moratorium for crumb rubber couldn't still be discussed. I'm just thinking if we could move that up to the top of the annual town meeting, that way there it can kind of roll better. They'll understand what the renovation article did, and then we can go into the moratorium article. So,
Yeah.
if we can move that article up instead of being 19.
Yeah, well, under your policy, it's at the earliest point. The policy is financial articles first.
Policies are a guidance, I
Supermajority,
understand.
so,
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about folks that want to come out and deliberate and talk and want to be part of town meeting. Do we make them wait? Or can we, I know a lot of folks are
if you put it in the
concerned about
special,
kids.
then it'll come up in the first half-hour town meeting.
You just said, you said there's hoops we got to jump through. What are those hoops?
The hoops among the hoops could be that in the first half-hour of town meeting, from 7 to 7:30, we're in the annual town meeting, that when procedural, and then at 7:30, we go into the special town
Yep.
meeting. The alumni field renovation project is in the special, so there's no way to reach that any sooner than 7:30, and then, only then if you move its order up. Right now, it's in Article 4, following fire station design, following other things. So, the moderator, we'd have to work out the details with the moderator, but you could have a procedural motion where at some point prior to 7:30, you take the annual town meeting article, wherever it is, 18, out of order, and discuss the moratorium first, and then you go into the special town meeting at the conclusion of that discussion, call this alumni field project out of order, so that you're
So six of one,
discussing
half
one
dozen
after
of
the
the
other.
other. So whether we
We
do
can't
the-
guarantee that, unless the moderator
Agrees.
issues something in advance where we're warning the public that notwithstanding where the placement is in the warrant, know that these matters are going to come up at some time certain, which the moderator can do. We can work with him on that. But the easier procedural thing is just to put the two articles back to back
Yeah.
in some warrant. And if you put them in the special, they're back to back, and then we would reach them sometime between, we'd reach them by 8 o'clock.
So again, I guess I need clarification as to what hoops we have to jump through to get Article 18 moved up to the special.
You
Or,
just need to vote to do that.
that's it?
The warrant is in the hands of the selectmen. I confirmed with town council, my understanding that the selectmen control the warrant. So you decide the order in which articles appear, and since the petitioner has given you permission to move it from the annual to the special, by your vote, you can do that tonight. So that would just, the advantage is that the voter information that we send out will have one, those two articles, one after the other, and people will know that it will come up during the special town meeting, which starts at 7:30. I think it would be less confusion for the public if we
I
just
agree.
put it down.
But let's take it to the next step, the feasibility, the restoration project is Article 6 in the special. If we make that Article 7 and then make Article 8 the moratorium, that way they'll come right after each other?
Yeah, but I would flip the order. While certainly some people think the alumni field need not be renovated because of other fiscal issues in the town, I think the main avenue of angst is over the crumb rubber, not the field renovation. Folks, I think, would be much more comfortable voting on alumni field renovation if they've already have the moratorium in place, knowing that that's there, it's a done deal, and that there will be no crumb rubber if it
does pass. Go ahead.
Hold on one second. And then you get to the alumni field, and then some of that anxiety has now been relieved, I should think, because if indeed that moratorium is passed, then folks who had an issue with crumb rubber could now say, okay, I can see alumni field needing to be renovated, and for the next 3 years, at least it won't be crumb rubber. I feel comfortable now.
Okay. Chuck?
I'm wondering if we were to amend Article 4 and eliminate crumb rubber from the equation,
We
and
have
just add that in, if, there's the potential for that article to be withdrawn altogether, if that's included as part of our article. And it's not something we're gonna solve tonight,
No.
but I
I mean,
think
the
that that's.
petitioner, I'm sure the petitioner wants to be heard, and
But they still could be heard.
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think that procedurally, and to my understanding, the idea of appointing a committee was that you were maybe going to do some work between now and town meeting, that if that committee could be promptly established and filled, you could have the discussion so
Right.
that we, by the time we're putting a motion in, and it's a short timetable, if it's April 12th, which is when we go to press with the voter information, but if by then, if say on April 11th, the Board of Selectmen could receive the work of the committee and say, let's move the alumni field article as printed with the restriction that's called for in the moratorium, if that's the motion that's offered
Yeah, but see,
under
the
the article.
problem,
If you
and I'm
can,
good-
if you can get there.
time
Yeah.
is very, I mean,
It definitely
we're gonna
is.
post positions for folks to be able to be involved in the discussion in the committee. That's 2-week process, then we gotta meet again. Now we're into April 11th already, so.
There already.
Already. So, I mean, when is the print, when's it going to print?
April 12th.
12th, so. I don't know if that'll work, but, go ahead,
No,
Joe.
but going back to what Chuck said, so I'd given the same thought to what you would, just try to solve the
It's
problem.
been done before, right? When
Yeah.
people have withdrawn the warrant because they're
Because we've included
concerns have been
the language in it. I mean,
You,
it can be done either way,
you could add, well, you could,
you'd have to ask the petitioner.
well, but you could, you control the warrant, you control what your articles say. Then if you wanted to rewrite your article to add the language that's in the moratorium, then that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to have your motion say that.
Yeah.
And if, that would give you a couple of more weeks to
Sense.
consult. I mean, but certainly by April 11th, whether you convene the committee or not, I think that will be the night when you have to decide if you want to offer a motion under the alumni field renovations.
just like Paul said, I think the anxiety is in what the foundation, this is the chrome rubber. It's not that we shouldn't renovate a field or do something in that.
Well, we don't know what all the reservations are, but that's certainly been the most vocal reservation. I mean, our inboxes certainly would state that, right?
And by including it in our our warrant article, that's already there for the alumni field, incorporating that language, seems to clean it up. You're right.
And then just have the conversation with the petitioner and say, if this, then that. I don't know. And then we're not doing this dance to try to figure out procedurally whether.
Well, if it would eliminate, if you add the language to your article in the special, then when and whether the moratorium comes up in the annual will be moot, because we will have already addressed it in the special. So in that case, I would say you could leave the moratorium article just where it is and put that language in the special, and then the voters will know it will be voted on your motion at
So
between 7:30 and 8 o'clock.
leave that opportunity there, and then before we go to print, we can make that decision.
Sure,
Does that make sense?
makes sense to me.
Input.
Any other discussion up here?
It's good.
Mr. Knox?
Nope, nope.
Okay. State your name and where you live, Jerry.
Jerry Oakmere, New State Road. Just a couple of comments. The petitioner's article really goes beyond alumni field, it's town-wide. So it's really somewhat separate from the alumni field reconstruction. I know personally the issue with artificial turf isn't just, the potential health hazards of crumb rubber and the other materials in the base, it's also the cost. And I know personally what would make the reconstruction much more palatable is having an option for natural turf so people can compare the costs.
I think we've said that, Jerry.
Right.
This group is gonna get together, we're gonna put the committee together, we're gonna give those options as we did with the track, and then the town can make a decision what they
Right.
want, absolutely.
I think there's just some perception that artificial turf is a done deal, and that's what's
I think that's
Misconception.
it's an absolute misconception.
Fair
We're-
enough.
We're giving the town the opportunity to say, yes, go forward with the design. We're giving the opportunity for 8 months to decide as to what that design looks like and what the infield will be, so it is definitely a misconception. Anything else?
So the 11th, we can make our determination. We'll leave the Article 18 where it is, the moratorium. And
I think you
on
can
the
address it.
11th, we can address it
Throw it
in
around.
Article 4.
If you put your own language in the motion, then that'll settle it.
Okay,
If I may,
go ahead.
I just want to thank Chuck and Keith both, because they worked with the petitioner. They went out of their way. Keith engaged town council so that we could have a good substantive wording of it all, so that go forward and get the particular petitioner's thoughts put out well, so it passed muster at town meeting. So thank you, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. I think that was really the only thing in the order.
Yeah, the rest of it is the order as we've
Pretty
been
standard.
presenting it
Good
throughout.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Ready?
So I'd look for a motion.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the order in which articles appear on the warrants for the May 2, 2016 annual and special town meetings, with financial articles first, those requiring supermajority votes next, followed by all other including authorizations and reauthorizations, and to direct the council to post said warrants forthwith.
Second.
Moving to second, and all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, 3B, town meeting. Always a fun time. Adopt article recommendations and make article assignments. Melissa is in Houston, so
She's getting a lot.
she's got a
Right.
heavy load coming.
And we should try to get as many recommendations as we can
Yes.
tonight, so. Want to start with a special?
Right through it. Start
Bills
with
of
number
prior
one.
years. Bonnie, we have one bill
One bill.
for, no, we have to, well, you can take the assignment, but you also need to adopt the recommendation. So we have $603 for
Bill of
an
prior
unpaid
years.
bill.
Finally found one.
So let's do the entire special first, and we can go back and make the assignments. Go ahead.
Article 2, Bonnie, we do not have the
I do not have
recommendations
those
tonight.
yet.
We will
I'll
bring
have
them in
those
on the
in the minutes.
11th. Okay.
Okay, so we can't make a recommendation on that at this point.
Let's see, Article 3, do we have the dollar figure that the school department needs for insurance proceeds?
He estimated that it would be approximately 78,000, so my recommendation would be 80,000, just to,
So we'll have the motion say 80,000. This is for any insurance claim, any money we get over 20,000, if we can only spend it with an appropriation at town meeting, we certainly want to do that.
Yeah.
So we should.
78,000.
Yeah.
I
or
put
should-
80 just in
Oh,
case.
80, I'm
it's-
sorry,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the
I'm not
board should
making
vote to
a
recommend
motion,
that.
so.
Article 4, The capital projects, there's $12,900 in adjustments that the PMBC has requested. There's the $25,000 for zoning and bylaw consulting services, $530,000 for fire station design, and then the $234,000 for Alumni Field renovation design. My suggestion would be that you take the first three tonight and recommend them, and then you finalize your recommendation on Alumni Field on the 11th.
So as we spoke earlier, the 5:30, oh, no. But that's not the special. Never mind. Just thinking of the capital for the schools, that's all.
Yeah, those are in the annual.
Yeah, that's in the annual, sorry.
What's the total of those three?
The total of,
Total dollars for those three?
it's, let's see, the net increase is 555,000. Because Article 4A is a wash. You're transferring a number from one project to another.
So it's just B and C for now.
Right.
Yeah, B and,
You're just doing-
yeah, you can do A, B, and C, but the net, the net cost of all three is 555,000.
But the 50 grand for the needs assessment recommendations is actually gonna go down by 50 grand, so are you calculating that?
No, that's in Article 7 of the annual town meeting, that other one.
All right. He's gonna tell me what the motion's gonna be in dollars.
Hold on.
555.
555 for
Even.
4A, B, and C. 555,
Okay.
999.
Okay, where is the,
That was-
under Article 7, point me to it, please? Because I thought it was the facilities, the facility needs assessment was for the paving project for,
This Article
No, that's in
4
Article
is the-
7 of the annual town meeting.
This is an adjustment to the 2016 facilities article.
okay.
So we're changing the 17 in the annual.
Okay, so where are we?
So you can approve A, B,
I-
and C with a net increase of 555.
All right,
The one you're talking about, Jim, would be in this,
On the second page.
in this one.
8A.
What is it?
8A6, about halfway down, 11,000, is that it? Oh, it's-
Or if you look at page 24 of the attached town meeting report, it's, this version that's in front of you reflects the agreement we reached with the school committee on Friday.
it does, okay.
Yes, it
all right,
does.
that's all I was
So
making
the
sure, okay.
280, so the project used to say 280.
Gotcha,
Now it says
230.
230.
Okay, all right,
So
I'm
it's
good,
incorporated in here.
I'm good.
Okay, then for Article 5, the blended CPA, we've got to do that on April 11th as well.
We won't
when
take
we
any
meet
action
jointly
on
with CPA. Article 6, the 67,500 for Mill Pond restoration, you can do that tonight. And Article 8 for the trust funds, I'm sorry, 7, yeah, that's, I didn't change the language, okay, is, you can approve that for a total of 79,000.
All right, so that's special town meeting, so what do you say we take a vote for the special town meeting? And then we'll move on to the annual.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to support the following articles of the May 2, 2016 special town meeting warrants and direct preparation of motions to be moved and seconded by said board. Okay. Article 1, bill of prior years for $692, money?
$603.
$603, excuse me. Article 3, use of insurance proceeds for the school department not to exceed $80,000. Article 4, FY 2016 capital improvements plan adjustments, subparagraphs A, B, and C, totaling $555,000. Article 6, Mill Pond Restoration Project feasibility study for $67,500, and trust fund grants for $79,000. That was Article 7.
Second.
Move the second, all those in favor? Aye. Right, do you want to go back and assign? So, Article 1, or do you want to wait until we get them all, make recommendations? That way, then we can have Melissa here too.
That's fine with me.
All right? Yeah, we can come back. All right, so moving on to
I
Lynn.
can send out a list after tonight,
Yeah.
and you can give your, and people can,
Yeah.
can
One and a half
volunteer
cents.
to take them.
I already jumped on number 1, so.
And then we can work with the chair on assignments, how about that?
Perfect.
Used to be in the old days, it was the chair just assigned it,
Perfect.
so.
Perfect.
We're more
I
democratic.
like the old days. I'm an old school type of guy.
Dictatorial doctrinaire that you
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Avella.
smile.
Okay, annual town meeting.
Smiling on it.
Town officers, we still are working on that.
Right.
Mr. Knox is usually a fence viewer,
Yes. Been a fence.
but never a fence sitter, right? So, annual report, you can do that. The revolving funds, you can do that tonight, that's standard.
Could I
Yeah.
offer, just based on the discussion that we had with the school committee last Friday, if we could change the school department transportation one to 150 instead of the 100 that they have referenced there?
Okay, and item 15
Yes.
for Article 3?
Correct.
Okay, 150.
Am I gonna speak
That's
that
as presented
loud?
in there.
Where is that now?
On page 13, item 15,
What article number is it?
Article 3.
Article 3 of the annual.
Article 3 of the
Revolving funds, item 15, school department
Okay.
transportation.
Page 13.
And that's
Yep.
based on their budget document, so.
What is the number now?
It should say
150. 150.
150,000.
Okay.
Show me the
Got it.
article number.
Thank you.
Show me the article number.
It's,
Article 3.
yeah.
So which revolving fund is that?
Transportation.
What page this?
Plus, we can speed right down.
We don't call school transportation, thank you. Sorry, we don't call school transportation, we call bus routes. Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
So that's, can reflect.
Okay, so Article 4, we will take up on the 11th. So that's the operating budget recommendations.
So hold on Article 3,
Yeah,
so PJ gets the.
Number right.
Well, so he gets the bottom line number right,
what's the
What is
total
the
of
number?
the revolving funds?
revolving? No?
Yeah, we don't usually reference that, so
All
I
right.
can add it while you're.
By the time we run through
Yeah.
more articles, we can come back to the
I'll get it.
total.
Yep.
So on Article 5, you could vote that tonight, and the requested amount of $3,050,000 for the Water Enterprise Fund. Same with Article 6 for the park.
Fork out.
What's that?
lot.
That's Mr. Slow now, just a little bit, just write these numbers down, make sure we get it right.
They're already on here.
Yeah, I know he's getting it through. So no change there, remember?
Nope, no change. And then for the Park and Rec Enterprise Fund, it's the published number of 984,828.
Then all the capital.
Capital, you can do them all as presented, and I bet Bonnie would need to strike a total of that as well. These are all of the projects that you
Yep.
inserted, and it does reflect the 150,000 in the school, on page 23, in Division 4, schools. Item G, school resource materials, it does reflect $150,000, as we discussed with the group. So you could do the total of Article 7. Article 8 is the Community Preservation Committee budget that they reviewed with us at our last meeting. You could vote on that tonight if you wish. Article 9, Personnel Bylaw Amendments, you can also vote on. It authorizes the 2% salary schedule adjustments for most schedules, and then implements the minimum, the new state minimum wage of $10 an hour for remaining affected positions. For the Article 10 Stabilization Fund, at your last meeting, you voted the number that we plug into the motion, which is 101,265. For the capital stabilization fund, at the last meeting, you adopted the number of $2,536,176 for that article. For the debt exclusion stabilization fund, there's no dollar amount that you voted, but you can still vote to establish the fund by recommending this article, and then we can put money in it later. Article 13 is a routine article authorizing the senior citizens and veterans tax work-off abatement program.
And that hasn't changed this year? We haven't gone up?
No,
It's stagnant from-
hasn't changed, that we didn't use all the money this year.
Okay.
I mean, we always have full subscribership.
Okay.
Article 14 is a use of Mass DOT Chapter 90 funds. I'm going to suggest we take that up on the 11th of April, because the state's not going to give us the number until the 1st of April. But we can plug it into the motion. Article 15, cell tower leases, we reviewed with the water, light and water, and this authorizes the water commissioners to put out the bid and be more flexible to make sure that we get these important cell tower revenues. It does not alter the purposes for which the monies are used. We go with what the prior town meetings have voted, which we just are making sure that we can have more of that revenue stream come in. So you could vote to do that one tonight.
That'd be one time, we'd get a buyout, and then we'd get whatever the escalators were, right?
In general, it will give us more flexibility, and I think the intent is to have a is to, I'm trying to think what you call it, to have an entity that's doing the
It's like a property manager.
control. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But-
That's what,
So they get the privilege of being the property manager, they give us a one-time buyout, right? They monetize the leases. They give us,
We haven't worked out those
yeah,
details.
Scott was gonna work out those details last time he was before us.
okay.
You wanna hold off on it, Chuck, and talk to him? I mean, we don't have to vote on it tonight till you're good.
Yeah, I think if we could, Jim,
Yep.
yeah. You guys okay
Yep.
with that?
That's fine, just
Yeah, we can have him,
do your homework with
we can have
Scott.
him back on that, on the 11th. Okay. Tax title of butter lot sales program, the
So-
addition of 2 lots.
Yeah, these 2 lots, again, I know we've talked about this previously, so long as they can't build houses on them.
Correct.
Right.
They will have the restrictions.
Right, these are
Perfect.
non-buildable. Yeah,
Perfect.
Below
And
48.
they're existing non-building, I just don't wanna make sure that
Right.
we end up with another house.
Article 17 is Nagog Hill Road easements that are required for that roadway improvement project for maintenance and drainage purposes. Article, so you could vote on that tonight. Article 18 is the voter petition, which,
Well, we don't need to support that or vote it on, it's a,
I'll recommend.
I'm sure that the voters at some point are going to be looking at the
Well,
front of the room to see how the board of selectmen feels about it.
when we take up Article 4 is all I'm saying. Article 4 in the special?
We can hold off on it.
Yeah.
If
Let's
something
hold off-
happens between now and then.
Hold on from that.
Yeah, I'd say at a minimum, we can plan to, you're gonna discuss it on
Right.
the 11th, so
Right.
let's do it then, that's the plan, okay. Article 19, town bylaw amendment to delete the reference to swimming pool fence bylaw, since that's superseded by the state building code now, you could vote to do that. Articles 20 and 21 are the 2 stormwater bylaw amendments that are being proposed to comply with the MS4 EPA permit, and we're in the process of lining up support from other boards as well. Planning board has voted to support both of these, it's going before the Board of Health tomorrow night, and we're looking to line up support from other boards as well, so we're on the same page. So you could vote on those tonight. The additional package store licenses, home rule petition, you can
So that's
that.
just, this is just the request. We're not approving anything at this point. This is just a request of the legislator to ask.
Right, to ask for the ability to grant additional licenses.
Well, I want to
We're
make
not
sure we go
deciding
through the public
who they
hearing
are, where they
process.
are.
Exactly.
It is plural.
Yes, it's plural, yep. And then the remaining articles,
Doesn't mean we have to give them out, you know.
23,
We get the authority, yeah.
23, 24, and 25 are routine borrowing authorizations, compensating balance agreement, and personal exemptions. So you can vote to do those three as well.
And for the motion, just going to say borrowing authorization, we don't need to tell a figure for that.
No, there's no dollar number.
All right, any further discussion? Nope. I'll look for a motion.
Be sick here, boss. No, not this. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to support the following articles in the May 2, 2016 annual town meeting warrants and direct the preparation of motions to be moved and seconded by said board. Okay.
Article 2 is the first one.
Yep. So annual town meeting. 2, annual report. Article 3, FY17 revolving funds. Article 4, FY17, no, we're not doing 4,
No,
excuse
we're
me.
not doing 4.
5, FY 2017 Water Enterprise Fund operating budget for $3,050,000, $50,000, excuse me. And then we're going to number 6, FY 2017 Park Recreation Enterprise Fund budget, $984,826. 28, thanks. How's that? All right. Now, do we just need to do for 7, just the total?
Ready?
Yep.
1,762,463.
What she said.
Yep, what she said is exactly right. Okay. 8, FY 2017 Community Preservation Budget, $315,323. Article 9, Personal Bylaw Amendments. Article 10, Stabilization Fund, $101,265. Article 11, Capital Stabilization Fund, $2,536,176. 12, Establish Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. 13, Senior and Veterans Tax Workout Programs. 17,
16.
we got 16, yes, thank you. 16, Tax Title Butter Lot Sales Program Parcels. 17, Nagog Hill Road Easements. 19, Bylaw Swimming Pool Fence Bylaw. 20, Bylaw Illicit Connections and Discharges to Storm Drain System Bylaw. 21, Bylaw Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. 22, Home Rule Petition, Additional Package Store All Alcohol Licenses. 23, Borrowing Authorization. 24, Compensating Balance Agreement. And 25, FY17 Personal Exemption Amounts.
Second.
By moving the second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Great, that gives us a manageable number for our next meeting.
So now the 11th, we'll take up assignments on the, in April, and those lingering articles, we'll make recommendations.
Send that to us.
I will, yep.
All right, 8 o'clock, we're establish Alumni Field Renovation Design Committee. So based on discussions we've had in previous meetings, we've told the folks in town that we'll have an opportunity to get on a committee, have open forums. Mr. DeCoche has so graciously volunteered for the board to facilitate these meetings throughout the summer and throughout the next 8 months or so. And this design renovation committee will not meet if there's no design going forward. So Article 4 in the special town meeting has to pass for this to even exist. And we'll figure that out on May 2nd. So the recommendation has been Board of Selectmen, School Committee, Park and Rec, Permanent Municipal Building. And then a number of citizen at large. So we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 citizens at large, put us at 7. We've gone overboard with these committees and you can't get a quorum together. We've dropped them down to 7, 9. What do you feel? three citizens at large.
I agree with what you're saying. This particular subject seems to have generated quite a bit of interest. And only three citizen at-large appointees, folks may feel marginalized. So I'd be inclined to go with 5. And if it fails to get a quorum successive times, you can always revote and knock it down to 7. Because I'm anticipating there'll be more applicants than there are oppositions. And that's going to be the challenge, actually, is to choosing folks to actually sit on this. So I see this particular one being more a case of having too many folks and not enough. So I'd offer 5 in that regard.
For a total of 9?
Yeah.
Yep.
7 is a better number for many reasons,
Yeah.
but
Yep. I have no opposition. Chuck, you're gonna be running this thing, so.
It's definitely much more manageable with fewer people, but I agree with PJ, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be interested in this. A number of people from all of the youth organizations have asked me to have a seat at the table. You know, for each one of the organizations. I don't know if that's feasible. If we do that, then you have, however many youth organizations times,
20 people sitting at a table.
So, it gets to the point where we're not able to have a quorum. Discussions can, in order for us to make any progress and actually have.
The other thing that you've done sometimes is you establish a number going in, and then on the night when you're interviewing people, and to make the appointments, and you see who you've got, that you sometimes
Well, I'm sure
adjust
there'll be
it to.
plenty of people
Yeah.
to choose from. I mean, we're gonna have to say, pick a number at some point and say enough is enough, and let's really engage the entire resident population during the meetings. Mr. Knox?
No, just like Keith said, we can always change it, but I would go with 9 for the specific reason that we mentioned. There's plenty of interest, so it's not, I don't think you're ever gonna have a quorum problem in this one.
Okay, I'm not opposed to that, so we,
Mr. Chairman, can you add FinCom to that committee?
that's not a bad idea, right? Why don't we add FinCom? And once again, we apologize. FinCom should be involved, yes.
Thank you.
I think we did mention that last week, but
Yeah.
I think I Xed that one
So
out.
you want to go 4 at large then?
Yeah, we'll go 4 at large.
Quick comment.
Yes, sir.
Chuck brought up a good point about there would be conceivably a natural gravitation towards having at-large members that are active in youth sports, because obviously they'll have a big say in it. Can I just make sure you guys are cognizant that not all of the at-large members are necessarily directly affiliated with youth athletics, and that some of the members are just citizens at large and don't necessarily have as vested an interest in the outcome one way or the other, up or down.
Right, we want to have all.
Services.
Sure.
Just keep that in mind. I think that will go a long way towards creating the right validity for the process.
Definitely, I agree, thank you. He stated it much better than I.
Perfect. Any other comments? Look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to establish an alumni field renovation design advisory committee to advise the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, Park and Recreation Commission, and Permanent Municipal Building Committee regarding the development
FinCom.
and FinCom regarding the development of design documents and bid services for renovations to alumni field. Said committee to be comprised of representatives from said boards and 4 citizens at large appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Moving to second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 5A, financial management policy. We accept, I'm sorry?
Oh, can I mention, Melissa Hebert is following us on Twitter, but I'm not so sure that she's watching us on video,
Oh,
so.
nice.
She can catch
But
it.
she
from
giving
Do
her
it from where
updates?
she is, yeah.
Good, thank you. Hi, Melissa. All right, so we accepted this
The other
policy.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Tweet her back.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. Let's not forget Melissa. Hi, Melissa. All right, so we accepted this policy in our last meeting, and now it's a motion to actually adopt. Any questions, concerns? Look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt proposed amendments to the financial management policy introduced on March 14, 2016, as recommended by the Financial Policies Working Group on January 12, 2016, and adopted by the Finance Committee on March 8, 2016, relative to free cash, parenthetical undesignated fund balance, stabilization fund, excluded debt stabilization, and CPA appendix.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is a control burn fire chief for 24 Paula Beth Street on Saturday, April 12th. Come on up, Mr. Cataldo, I see you in the audience. Come on up, please. All right, chief, why don't you give the board and the folks in town a little update as to what your intentions are and how rare this is?
Graciously, Mr. Cataldo has offered up a property that is being demolished at the corner of Paula Beth and Loxley, 24 Paula Beth. It's a single-story ranch that is going to be demolished for neighborhood improvements. And
I'll second that one, I'll tell you right there, I'll second. Being in the neighborhood, you are correct, chief.
This offers us an opportunity that's invaluable. Homes with fire prevention and public education, house fires in Littleton are very far and few in between. We don't wish them on anyone.
Thank you for that.
And it's been many years since we've had one. Actually, it was, I think the last serious one was on Moore Lane in 2008. Our last fire of significance was our training fire that we had on Air Road, and that was in the beginning of 2012, June of 2012, 2011, it might have been 2011. And so this offers us another opportunity. It is a corner lot. The home has been cleaned and emptied of its contents, as well as the exterior. Utilities have been disconnected. We just received an insurance certificate for proof of cancellation of insurance today. And the asbestos abatement is taking place tomorrow for the floors in the basement. We should have a certificate for that by the end of the week. And by that time, we'll be able to apply to the DEP for permission to conduct a controlled burn. We're allowed to have one of these a year, but the opportunity doesn't necessarily come up as a viable home to have live fire training in, but this one does. So it basically offers us an opportunity to spend most likely about 6 hours, have multiple evolutions, bring in some mutual aid, and have various fires throughout the home, and then probably between 12 and 1, basically finish it and burn it to the ground.
So, two things, if I may, gentlemen. First and foremost, Joe, you do so much for the town. You've helped out with the castle and the trees. Your willingness to pay for an asbestos abatement, do the right thing in cleaning that place out, because I saw it, instead of just knocking it down and taking it out, your staff and your employees, you had to pay to do all of that. So we appreciate that, and the town appreciates that, and, the fire chief is chomping at the bit. And it's a great training opportunity for his department and in other departments for municipal aid.
You are so right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, you do a lot for the town, Joe, and, you should be recognized for it. I'd ask you, Chief, prior to kicking off, that you have a quorum of the neighborhood?
Yeah,
just so folks can, I've been asked questions.
Yep.
We're all excited. We've seen the improvements already that Mr. Cataldo has done, and we're excited for the next chapter of that property. But those questions I can't answer.
No, absolutely. We're going to have
what's going to be, how you're going to do, and what happens when I get a spark or something like that. So
right, and we'll address all of those. Currently, the dates that we're looking at would be Saturday, April 2nd, or the 9th as an alternative date. And there are many things that go into it. If it's bad weather and the weather conditions aren't optimal, unfortunately, we won't be able to do it. We may be able to have some smaller fires inside, but.
And if you get that date out, I'll spread them throughout the neighborhood too, so make sure.
Absolutely.
Those who
They
are
will be
concerned.
sent, mailers will be sent to all of the abutters.
What's your feeling on
in the neighborhoods.
What's your feeling on DEP giving you a thumbs up?
Preliminary conversations They said once the asbestos abatement is done, they don't see an issue.
Okay, great.
They will do a site visit.
Yep. Board members?
Just one, your last burn was in a wide open area.
Correct.
Can you give the board an idea what precautions actually made since house is a lot closer?
Right, so that fire, it was a significantly larger house as well. But in this neighborhood, the nearest house is 110 feet from in the rear. And what we would do at the end of the day, as the fire goes, it'd be more of a controlled situation instead of just standing back and letting it go. So there would be what they call like water curtains going across the backyard, protecting all of the surrounding homes. And if it's an extremely windy day, honestly, we wouldn't be able to do it for that reason. So the weather for the day is going to play a lot on how the burn takes place. But we would take precautions for all of the surrounding area as well. Absolutely.
My question piggybacks on Joe's. You mentioned our good fortune, the number of structure fires continues to decrease, and it's been a long time, so that's most fortunate. On the unlikely event there is something serious while this is going on, the contingency plan is all set in place?
We'll bring in mutual aid. Similar to when we did the fire on Air Road, we'd bring in a mutual aid engine company and an ambulance company to cover for the day.
Thank you.
We basically would tie up one piece of apparatus that would basically do all of the pumping for that fire, and the rest of our apparatus would be available. It would just be a matter of taking our personnel and having them break off from the drill and then respond as well.
Mr. McCose?
My concerns are all around safety, and it sounds like you've already gone down that road. I know that you practice safe practices, and you're not going to put your own guys in any kind of jeopardy, so that's my only concerns. I'll say a lot of prayers on the 2nd and the 9th, and I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Cataldo. And,
So once fire company's done, we presently have a safety fence around the property. We'll take that and we'll put it around the foundation the next day, just so people won't think it's a new swimming pool.
Right. And when will you actually do the demo with the foundation?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
We're a little behind, but
Yep.
as soon as we can. And if we'll probably try to collapse it that week and fill the hole in until we get all the permits in place.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Chief, you're good, you're ready to go? Chief King, I'm sure your assistance will be needed.
We were just discussing it, like, Chief Wazinski talked to me before, we'll block off the streets and, make sure we have people manned so we can get the people that live in the neighborhood to where they need to belong, but normally we set up some sort of a viewing area, which we'll discuss with the chief, so that residents can come and look and watch at a safe distance, and
It's gonna be on Elizabeth Circle.
I volunteered the hot dogs already.
Bring
So-
vegetables.
yeah,
my Christmas tree.
we're set.
Okay, great. Any other questions, board members? Mr. Cataldo, again, thank you for the opportunity. The chief,
Been great to work with.
yeah, he's a professional guy, and he's looking, his department will get some great training along with any other municipal departments that he's gonna be calling in, so thank you very much. Look for a motion.
Thank you.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the fire chief's plans for departmental training exercise on Saturday, April 2nd, 2016, for controlled burn at 24 Polar Beth Street, and approve an agreement with property owner M.J. Cataldo Incorporated, therefore, subject to approval as to form by town council.
Before a second, do we want to put rain date on there, or are we good?
You want to
If
arrange
you
it?
wouldn't mind, please.
Sure.
The 9th,
The alternate date of the 9th.
with an alternate date of April 9.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you again. Good luck, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sell tickets?
Some bleachers up?
All right, so let's jump to
Minutes.
other business. Is minutes approval? Mr. Revella, any
Move the Board of
concerns?
Nope.
Members, any concerns?
No. All good.
Move the Board of Selectmen approved. Board of Selectmen minutes from the meeting of February 29, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye.
So we have two executive sessions tonight. One is in regards to the Cooper Farm, and one is in regards to litigation. I'd look for a motion for each independently.
Okay. Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to go into executive session to consider the value of real property, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the board's negotiating position relative to the Cooper Farm property at 180 Great Road, and to not convene an open session thereafter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Avella?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste? Thank you. Now for the other executive session on respect to litigation.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection A, Clause 3, to convene an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation in the matter of Campbell versus Casey, Town of Littleton, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the board, and to convene an open session thereafter. And to not convene an open session thereafter.
Second that one.
Mr. Knox? Aye. Mr. Avella?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste? We are now in executive session.